Good morning. Good morning. John Augustine back again. Famine. It's a very tough thing that can happen to human beings. And those in the world today that die of starvation, and some do, um, may they rest in peace and the light of heaven shine upon them, amen. Those that die for unnecessary wars in various countries with people that want power. What such evil. And those that lose their lives in those situations, may they rest in peace and be happy forever in heaven with all the ancient saints. But above all, those that died in this country, our brothers and sisters, from the neglect of the ruling class, namely the British, their eternal shame. 1,000,000 of our brothers and sisters died of starvation when the potato crop failed in the 1850s and going on towards the 1900s. They suffered grievously, as they had suffered for hundreds of years with the penal times and the anti-Catholic bigotry of the British in destroying churches with their great treasures and monasteries. We had, I believe, 3,000 monasteries in this country, giving great help and succor to the poor. They lost out because the monasteries were great agricultural innovators, tilling the land and producing food. They led the way in that and led the way in education. People got education and help until the penal times, when these were destroyed and people were put off their land, and it was given to the planters, Protestants mostly, that led a life of debauchery in some ways, doing what they liked, riding to hounds while people starved. Yeah, he exported food when people starved. And the British that were in charge, Peel, Daniel O'Connell, the great Catholic man, man that got the Catholic to get the people freedom to practice their Catholic faith in 1829. What a great gift he brought to the people here that had been not able to practice their Catholic faith and persecuted. And but not long after that, and Daniel O'Connell died in 1852. He must have seen the evidence of the famine in Kerry. A lot of people all over the country suffered and were buried in mass graves. We don't hear this government that we're saddled with talking about those things. They attack the Catholic Church, don't they? And try to find spurious evidence of any malpractice by nuns and priests. Dig up whatever they can and forget about our brothers and sisters that died of starvation and were persecuted, having to have mass on mass rocks. There's a great film about those times on the 20th of November. Sorry, the 20th of July, I think. Yeah, 20th this month at 9:30 on EWTN. About those times and Holy Mass being celebrated on the Mass Rocks. Well worth looking at. I intend to look at it. But yesterday I visited a famine museum after getting Holy Confession in the Dominican Church off Grafton Street. I was able to say the Stations of the Cross, get Holy Confession and get Holy Mass and receive Holy Communion. It was a very wet morning yesterday, spilling. And I made up my way towards the Stephen's Green Shopping Centre, and on the second floor there's a famine museum, which I went into and spent a couple of hours looking at the various items and the tragedy. And I bought the book, The Irish Potato Famine. It's a picture of that man. He was a labourer, hoarding himself out to have enough to get, I think, 8 a day to try and feed his family. And they lived in hovels. Let me see. They got help from various people, but not from the British, except by donations. Peel, the Prime Minister, was called Orange Peel by Daniel O'Connell. Daniel O'Connell was a member of the Parliament, and he disliked Daniel O'Connell. These ones like anybody that's good, don't they? I think Daniel O'Connell had to fight a couple of Jews as well. They were trying to kill him, weren't they? But they didn't succeed. And the establishment in Britain, they were lords and yokes and responsible. Peel and another fellow called Russell. Peel was a conservative and didn't provide the help for the Irish that were starving, and criticised the Irish. After taking the land off them, destroying their churches, they had the gall to insult them as well and their character. The island of saints and scholars that had more education before they put their evil hands on the country than they ever had or would ever know. Yeah, imagine. They were in charge of this country. What savages to have in charge of your country that destroyed your culture, destroyed your language, and persecuted you, and had you dependent on potatoes for your diet, while they were exporting food, even during the famine. And then Russell, a Whig, a liberal Whig, reckoned laissez-faire, something that people should be able to look after themselves, like the Protestant ethic of work and all the rest of it. How can people work when they're starving? And a fellow called Treleaven, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, despised the Irish also, and that it would God's judgment and all this nonsense talking about God, and so as they couldn't help the frauds of the worst order. Yeah, I allowed them to starve and provided workhouses and things like that, but not sufficient, and then closed them and provided work. And they had to work and poor starving to get enough money to feed their families in these little hovels. And then, even when they were starving, knocking down these little houses to make more room for their land. Oh, visiting that famine museum. It's open from 12 to 6 every day in Stephen's Green Shopping Centre. And it's on the second floor. Well worth a visit. As I say, I bought the book. And there's people in County Donegal. Look at the little hovels that they had. Made of turf, it looks like. Look at relief workers in County Galway, Inburn. Although food other than the potato was available, the problem for the Irish poor was they had little or no money to buy it. It was not a queer one. And by the way, the rent was extortionate, but these landlords, absentee and offer at them. So many people were dependent on the pale data. There was an urgent need for a substitute food. Sir Robert Peel, the Prime Minister, though slow to act initially and despite opposition from the Treasury, imported 150,000 worth of corn, mainly from America. This expenditure was minimal. 3 million worth of potatoes had been lost. Peel's imports helped to stabilise prices for other foodstuffs such as flour and oatmeal. You see, uh, um, people in the west of Ireland suffered worst because they had no help. Dublin Workhouse, look at the amount of people they were over, and then they were closed, and and soup kitchens, and then they stopped them as well when they were most needed. Woman begging a Clonakilty. There's a man dead in the corner there, and the children, and a minister visiting, and people wrote books about it. Priest died as well. Starvation and disease. It's a hard of an experience, but it's one that we have to look at. We don't hear this crowd that's running the country here at the present time and posting all sorts and doing all sorts of evil, taking out crosses out of churches. The latest was St. Vincent's Hospital, founded by Mother Mary Aikenhead. And what dreadful, they're nearly like this crowd that we had in the penal times, and when people starved, a million, and then a lot of them died on the way to other countries that were starving, and then living in dreadful conditions on these steerage ships. I visited one, the Dumbrody in New Ross, and you want to see the conditions that our brothers and sisters had to travel in. Oh, some of them died before they got it, and there was people looking for people, and they couldn't know. Oh, talk about tough. Well, I sort of said prayers for them. That's what you do when you see that kind of evil. But you have to point where the blame lies, and it lies with the despicable British, what they did. They owe such compensation to this country that they could never actually repay the harm that they did over hundreds of years. They did it everywhere they were, of course. And one great little thing, there was Turkey wanted to send 10 or 20,000, which was a lot of money in those times, and the British Queen Victoria sent 2,000 and prevailed on them not to send more than that. Uh, so they sent 1,000 or something, but they sent 3 ships with food. So they landed, I think, in Drad or somewhere like that. Wasn't that good? So this was a Muslim country. And another crowd that sent money was the Choctaw Indians in the United States. They were put off the land, they had little or nothing, but they sent money. You know, you have to admire where it come from. Decent people in the United States, and there they sent money. Our Irish brothers and sisters in America didn't have much, but they sent what they could. As a matter of fact, even when we got our freedom, a lot of our brothers and sisters in America kept food on the table in this country when money was tight. And people, when they were working, even just had enough money to pay for food. Yeah. So that's the background. I just thought I'd mention something about it. I'll be talking more about it as time goes on. But I give it a little overview of it, and it's something, of course, I said, now, Father, 3 had married called me the Father to it. As I was saying the thing, bring tears to your eyes. Brought tears to my eyes when I saw the poor people in there and saying mass and it was, and oh goodness, churches destroyed. And then trying to build churches during them times. Sure, there was no money, was there? What a tough time. So anyway, that's all we do. We pray for them. I certainly pray for them every day, and for anyone that dies of starvation, but particularly our brothers and sisters. We would have had ancestors that would have died. They would have died. So we are obliged to pray for them. And they would be in heaven, of course, because of what they suffered. And yet they were abused. And they were even abused in my time when I worked in London for a few years. Did a good job, but a very peculiar race altogether, despicable in my book. Right, except there was probably some good people. There were Catholics, but it was destroyed by Henry VIII and the persecutions of Catholics. People don't want to be killed just because they believe in God and go to Holy Mass. Yeah. Bye now. So say a prayer for them there yourselves. Our Father, three Hail Marys, and glory be to the Father. Maybe say more. Include them in the rosary. Bye now. Be doing a little one after this on a different attitude about 2001. Bye now.